Hello, once again. Welcome to Pandoras Box, everyone. Hope you're having a good week. Last week we had Mein Vater on, Paul Waite, and we were talking all about, basically the story of Aspen Waite. Obviously, you're listening to Aspen Waite Radio. Well, unless you're listening to us on Spotify or YouTube, obviously. But originally, this show just started as a radio show, but then obviously we started releasing it as a pod on like Spotify and YouTube and stuff like that as well. But yeah, it's the 30th anniversary of Aspen Waite, the company that my old man started when I was but a wee little lad. So we had him on talking about the journey. I have to say, actually, like, I often don't listen to like any of our shows back, but I listened to about half that one back, and I was like surprised how interesting I found it, and I was surprised how interesting I was finding it at the time recording it. And I don't mean that obviously in a bad way. I just mean because obviously I already know like a lot of what he was saying. But I obviously, you know, being my old man's son, I know a lot about the story and the journey of Aspen Waite. But I still thought it was like really, really intriguing. And I also found out some things I didn't know. Like, do you know what I mean? There were like little bits, weren't there? So I thought that was pretty cool. But anyway, the other night I was just sort of playing my guitar late at night. As you do if you play guitar or play any instrument. And yeah, I came up with like a little intro thingy, and then I just sort of ended up making like a little song, which I'm going to dedicate to sort of like my old man and Aspen Waite, called 30 Years. It randomly came out. I think this is the song I've made up that's just like most like grungy.
Ah, nice.
Sounds almost like a bit of like an acoustic grunge track.
A little bit of grunge.
Whereas usually they're usually like comedic or folky. So it's interesting. I don't really know why. It just naturally happened. Although the intro's a bit almost like a bit country, you know. But yeah, so we'll play this for you now. Drew's never actually played it with me before, but Drew doesn't need to practice because Drew's that good.
Improvised.
We love to improvise,
I mean,
baby.
to be fair, like any of you like good musicians out there will obviously know, but like basically all I had to say to him was like, look, verses are like A minor C, and then there's a bridge that's like F, E minor, and then goes around twice and ends in G, and then back into A minor.
There you go. So now you know, guys.
That's the trick. Along. If you know that, you can be a musician. That's it. So yeah, this is 30 years. As I said, yet again, the sound quality might not be that good, guys, because
hopefully it picks up your guitar, man. Yeah, on that mic.
Well, if I put it placed in my guitar, because my voice will penetrate anything that it touches.
Baby.
A bit like Drew's Willy. But
my dear Lord.
Yeah, but sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I just can't help myself. But yeah, these mics, as I've explained before, aren't really like set up for music.
Yeah,
but you'll get
pretty
the
heavy gate on there.
We're just having a laugh at the end of the day, and then hopefully you'll get a kick out of this song, whether it's like laughing with us or at us. Hopefully it'll bring you some enjoyment in your life. So This is 30 Years. 30 years is a lifetime to some. How did we get here? And through heartbreak and triumph and fun, we're left here standing now. Yeah, we're left here standing now. 30 years is fleeting to some. It's all a blur now. But we're standing here all the same, and there's no stopping us, no. No, there's no stopping us, no. Getting up is what makes a man. Now not getting knocked down. They can try it over again, but we'll claw our way back for sure. Yeah, we'll claw our way back for sure. My phone's ringing. We'll just ignore it. I was adding some like jazz to it. Overcoming hardships never easy, but was there to be one? Bit of piano in there as well, because my phone. By those that are brave and don't give in easy. Yes, you'll have your day in the sun, so let's have fun. I never thought we'd get piano in this track. Boom.
I like that, man. That was cool.
That was
Do you
awesome.
know what's hilarious? I literally have my phone on silent like 99% of my life,
Yeah.
right? And the one time it's not, it's when I'm about to do a radio show / podcast and have a song, play a song to you all, and then my fucking phone rings. I don't even know who that was as well.
At least it wasn't me.
It wasn't like a number I have saved on my phone. It was like a local number, but I don't know who it is.
Damn, they're the worst kind of numbers to ring. Not even someone you know.
I was just about to say the number on air, but I thought on the off chance that someone then like decides just to be like really immature and prank them or something, I won't. You know what I mean? You interrupted.
I think you should, and I think they should.
Yeah.
How
You
many
interrupted
people?
Payback.
Yeah.
30 years on Pandora's Box. You interrupted the track. How dare you?
Mm-hmm.
Just
I
get all
think
this
some of the
abuse.
piano was in tune with what we were doing there, so that was a bit weird.
It
There was
reminded.
definitely sometimes were added to the song as well, which is really cool.
It was like a bit like jazzy.
Yeah.
You know how like jazz is like almost like it is a bit out, innit? It's a bit all over the place, jazz, isn't it? And
Yeah.
that's one like thing that people criticize about jazz sometimes, isn't it? It's almost like
Just play anything.
it's basically it's like you just have loads of musicians together just playing whatever they feel like it, and then that's just jazz.
That's it.
That is obviously a little bit cruel. Jazz instrumentalists, I think,
Very technical.
are very impressive in a lot of ways. Like, and obviously they're like really good with like improvising, like improv and stuff. And I think the very nature of improv is you need to have balls to be comfortable just freestyling completely unprepared in front of people. And naturally, regardless of how good you are, if you're doing that all the time, it's probably going to be some bits that are a bit like,
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you need to have those bits to find the magic.
You got to push the boundaries, man.
Yeah,
you got to go for it.
And some days you might have a day where it's just like amazing, and it's like freaking the heavens have sent you a gift that day, and you capture something amazing just completely without any prep. But in other days there also might be some sad times.
I remember Alex Skolnick talking about it as well, with like guitar solos and how mostly like.
Remind me who Alex Skolnick is.
Alex Skolnick is the lead guitarist of Testament.
I knew it was a thrash band, but I couldn't remember.
And like he's one of my favorite guitarists. He's got so much feel with his playing and everything. But he was saying, like he's an amazing guitarist, but a lot of the time, especially with metal music, it will be like you'll do multiple takes and you'll slice and chop the best parts together. Like it's just it's just
solos
generally with solos in metal music. And he said, but you always have that one where you just go in and you smash the whole thing like as one take, and it's such a good feeling when you do it. And he was saying the Practice What You Preach solo, which is like an awesome Testament track. That whole solo is like just one take, and you listen to it, and it's quite complex and quite long as well. It's a really long solo, and like, I'm just like, it's so cool that when you do get those moments when you're just proper in the flow with it and it all flows together. I
remember being really impressed with that as well, because I really like that band Death. Obviously not around anymore because the lead singer Chuck sadly died of brain cancer, but they went through a couple of lead guitarists during their tenure, and I can't remember which one it was, but there's this one of their best songs is called Lack of Comprehension, and the solo on that is insane. And I can't remember whoever the lead guitarist of that was at the time. They took that. I remember when I heard that, because it was like an interview I was reading, like an old interview with Chuck, and he just said like they hadn't had him like for long. It was like he was like quite new to the band. And like all of their lead guitarists like insane, like like face melting like metal solos and stuff like crazy. But it was just like apparently they just said it was so crazy because they'd never even really met him before. Like came in the studio and he was just like, "Hey guys, yeah," and it was like really quite and cool. And then just like sat down and they were like, "Yes, this is part one. Gonna do a solo." And he's like, "Oh, cool," and then just ripped out this fucking insane solo. And they was like, "Okay, I think that's good." They were all just like, "Okay, like so glad that this guy's our new lead guitarist." You know what I mean? Like
that's amazing.
Unsuspecting.
That's a bit like Marty Friedman or like Kiko. Or like Kiko
Lerelio.
As well. Do you know what I mean? They're both just like insane, aren't they? Everybody loves Marty Friedman in the metal world.
Oh yeah, he's got loads of feel as well. I think
I
heard that, but he's got so much feel.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Marty Friedman. Yeah, because he's he was almost like not that thrashy in his style, was he? But it was like a really nice compliment to Megadeth, just like really interesting like solos and stuff over like all just the thrashy riffs that like Dave Mustaine would do in that.
And his hand like curled, his picking stile, it's like his hands like curled right round like this. Have you ever noticed that with Marty Friedman?
No.
So like
really,
he'd have his right. Normally you just pick like if you see it on the camera just like that, but he curls his hand round like that. So it's like take my strong hand.
It's the curler.
And then.
So what's he doing there?
And then he just kind of like. I don't know. He looks like he's kind of just jerking one off with the guitar, but like he kind of uses his wrist to do the alternate picking, but it's like an insane technique. But he's so clean with it, So it's just one of those like crazy little guitarist quirks.
Crazy little thing called love. Yeah, it's mad, isn't it, man? All these different styles. Have you ever heard of a guitarist, Drew? I'm gonna have to like check. I wrote down what his name was because I was like I listened to some of his stuff. I randomly read an article. And it was basically saying, like John Williams is the guy that did like all the score for like
Jurassic Park,
Star Wars, Pirates of the Caribbean. I think
like his favorite musician of all time was this guitarist from
Yaki Samakawa.
Was it Guatemala? Oh. Let me have a look. Let me check it out. He was from Paraguay. He was from Paraguay. Nice. His name was Agustín Barrios. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Well, I thought it was mad because I'd never...
He like flamenco-y Spanish kind of guitar?
More like classical, but with folk and pop of the day influence. But he died in like I think like the 40s, like the 1940s. Okay. So he's been dead a long time. He was born in like like the 1800s. But do you know what? I'll show you guys because as soon as I heard from him, it was going on about...
There was some recordings of him still.
Yeah. Really freaking rough. So I'll play him for everyone listening. But all of you music lovers, though, this is a treat. And do you know what? I thought it was really cool because... one thing, I guess it's just the sands of time, isn't it? Like, no one's going to live forever. And also, not just live forever, but not everyone... unless you are in, like, the top 0.0000000...
play it off that one, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, because it won't pick up if it's from this PC.
Cool.
Unless you're like a Genghis Khan or something like that.
Yeah, or like a Julius Caesar, you're not going to be remembered. But so it almost my initial reaction was like, oh, I can't believe I've never heard of this guy. But then after that, I thought, I'm so glad I read this article because now I'm gonna like listen to a lot of it, you know, and try and sort
check it out,
try and spread the word, brah. But yeah, I really liked it as well because basically John, I was like reading this interview with like John Williams, and he was saying like, why he liked him was because he was like this madly like talented virtuoso, but he never like played in an overtly technical way. All of his playing was like very like delicate and emotional, and I was like, oh mate, you're speaking my language. So yeah,
you're speaking my love language, baby.
You're speaking my language. Oh, I'll put it on Spotify actually, because that'd be better, wouldn't it? And then this is also linked to your account, Drew. So I'll follow him because I already checked,
lovely.
And he has got a Spotify account. Someone started a Spotify account for him. So he is Agustín Barrios Mangoré.
Barrios Mangoré.
There's this nice little black and white photo of him here. So follow, and then what I'll do is I found like an app because there's a lot of albums where people are like covering his stuff. But if you delve deep, you can find this really old rough recording. Where it's actually him, and obviously the sound quality is pretty rubbish, but I think it's worth it actually to hear him playing. You know, just makes it better hearing him play. So let me just find it a minute. I know that it's sort of like a red album cover with like almost like a drawing of him on the front. So I just need to find that a minute, folks, and then
What time period did you say this guy's from?
I'm pretty sure he was born in like the 1880s or something like that, and lived until like the 1940s something, like 1944 or something like that. I'm scrolling. God, look how many albums there are of like his work. This is it. This is it. Barrios's greatest hits. So this is actually him. So listen to some of this, people. Let me find a really nice one. Oh, that sounds quite, doesn't it? Contemplation. This one. Let's have a listen, shall we? Hopefully this will actually. Why isn't it playing? Oh, damn it. Let me connect to a device. This computer. Right, let's try this now.
There we go.
Yep. So yeah, and also on the front cover of the album it says 21 selections remastered from the original recordings from 1914 to 1929 of Agustín Barrios Mangoré.
Wow. I'm loving the grain.
Apparently he often used to play in D, G. So like at low end, you know, like the E would play on the D, and the A he'd play G, and then you know from there it would be
normal standard.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, still like D, G, B, E. But just really nice and relaxing. Like you can imagine like being in like Italy or something, and then like having like flying him over for something, and you just like sitting having your dinner or like a nice. Do you know what I mean? Just like listen to this would be like, well, we're relaxing.
It's almost got like Bach-y, that is like.
Yeah, well, obviously,
Bach.
you know, I think because he was classically trained, I think apparently I like looked right into him, and he started having like classical lessons at 13, and apparently within like 2 years he was like good enough that he was like touring the world. But so he's like really you know, like on that classical style, but he was really into folk music. And also into like what was at the time pop music, obviously very different from pop music of the day. So both had like an influence on his playing. So it's quite unique, but you can still obviously really hear that classical.
So he would have been like hugely well known back in the day.
He was touring the world, yeah.
Yeah.
I said John Williams says that he's the best musician of all time. And imagine John Williams thinking that of you. John Williams
That's
says that.
insane playing, man.
Yeah. But like John Williams said that not just in like a playing way, like in like the music he wrote.
Yeah.
Apparently he had over 300 compositions in his lifetime and like just never wrote a bad one. Like, it's funny, innit? Because I always think like I think for people that don't play guitar, they'll hear like say like One by Metallica and they'll think that's like the guitar solo in One. They'll think that's like the hardest style of guitar solo in, but this is like so much harder in it, dude. Obviously it's like apples and oranges, but like I know which one I think's harder anyway. The level of multitasking going into something like this is just insane. It's interesting as well because it starts quite slow and it builds like a lot. Like the first sort of like minute or two, you're like, yeah, this is really nice, but it's not like, you know, anything that maybe you wouldn't be able to play. And then suddenly you're like, where did that come from? But it's like in a really like delicate, natural way. It's not forced.
So
how cool was that?
That was awesome.
We'll play one more and then we'll.
So when would like recording have first been available for music?
I have no idea, mate.
Because you imagine this must be quite early on.
Well, this obviously sounds like it was recorded on a really old record, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because you can hear.
Yeah, like
So it's almost like it's like a remaster, almost like a remastering of that. Like back when they had those, like old gramophones. I know they had old gramophones as early as like World War One. Like around it was around World War One that like the first gramophone came out. I don't know the exact year, but I remember because at the time people thought it was crazy. Because you got to bear in mind when the gramophone came out. Before that, if you want to listen to music, you had to go out and find like a bar or something that people were playing music to have them. Or like maybe you would have known a musician in the family that could look at, if they were good, they could play you at home.
And do you think about amplification and stuff like that? Like everything would have just been completely unamplified. So
well, that's why steel strings were originally invented, weren't they? Like on guitars, like for people
projection.
For people that don't know, you can probably picture it. Like think of like a classical guitar or like like a nylon string guitar. Like they're obviously an older style of guitar. And then I think it was in America. I think it was Martin, the guitar company Martin. I think that invented the first steel strings on like the high, the high E like GBE strings as they are in standard tuning. And that was purely because they cut through better. So say you'd be in the Wild West and there'd be like 6 musicians on stage. Sometimes the nylon string guitar would get drowned out by the other instruments, especially if you had like some brass or like some loud drums or something. You can't really play the nylon strings like even if you hammer them hard, they're not necessarily like a cutting through sound, are they? Suddenly like Martin started putting steel strings on, and then it just the way that it sounds, it cuts through, doesn't it? Cuts through other sounds.
I wonder if... So you said this is from 1912 to...
All of these recordings are between 1914 and 1929.
1914, 1912. I wonder if that's when he first had, like, the ability to record music.
Yeah, well, it probably would have been, because as I said, if the gramophone was invented around the time of the First World War, and 1914 is around that as well, isn't it? So, yeah, it would have been... It's so cool, though, that, like, it's almost amazing that there are any recordings of him at all, but it's like amazing that there is. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Snapshot in time.
Because imagine, like, there's one thing. Think about like the amazing classical composers. Like one of my favourite classical composers is like Vivaldi, for example. Like we can hear his music, but we can't hear it the way he played it. And obviously, every musician has like their own like flavour. Like if I tried to play like a song that you wrote, I could, even if I tried my hardest to make it sound like you, it wouldn't.
Your imprint is you know, you can't ever recreate it. No one could ever recreate that.
Mate, it's like you're coriander and I'm parsley, you know. You can't make it be like.
And even another piece of coriander couldn't copy it.
No. No, mate. Yeah. They can.
It's pretty mad. So the first recognizable record of human voice and music is in 1877.
Whoa.
Which is pretty crazy.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does it say what it was?
Yeah, it's a recording of Au clair de la lune. Is now considered the earliest recognizable.
How do you spell that? Let's listen.
Like AU, then space CLAIR. CLAIR. So AU and then space
Au clair.
And then space
de la lune.
De la lune, yeah.
Okay, found him.
Oh.
I need to make
a digitally converted phonautograph recording.
I found it, mate. 1860.
Oh, wow.
Recording from 1860. Sound restoration, it says.
Whoa, so this is apparently the first ever one.
So this is the first ever recorded music. That sounds like sketchy, mate.
Sounds like a ghost.
That sounds like something from like a frickin' Paranormal Activity movie or something. Insidious.
Imagine being in bed and then you just hear this out of nowhere.
I feel like we're almost being disrespectful for mocking it, but no, actually we're not. Perfectly warranted.
So this
perfectly
is
warranted.
The first ever one. That's crazy. Oh, I got a bit better then.
Sounds like a cat.
Yeah.
I wonder how they recorded that.
Phonautograph.
That's mental, isn't it? I wonder what the process of that is. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
It's got like, it says it's got 5 parts, but I mean.
And it was Thomas Edison. Oh no.
No? I assume it was.
In 1877, the US inventor Thomas Edison heard Mary Had a Little Lamb emanate from a machine into which he had just spoken the ditty. It was the first time a recording of the human voice had been reproduced, and the event signaled the birth of the phonograph. So it was definitely the phonograph. It
might have been a guy called Edouard Leon Scott de Martinville. Does it say anything about that guy there? On this, it says, in the description, it says, the phone autograph recording from 1980 of Au clair de la lune, sound restoration, the first known recording of a human voice from the 9th of April, 1860, Edouard Leon Scott de Martinville. I assume that was the guy, because otherwise why would they just randomly have some other person's name there? But that's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating.
They look mad as well, the phonautographs.
How far we've come? Yeah, that's crazy, mate, isn't it? Like, do you know, it looks like a cement mixer.
That's crazy.
It looks like, you know, one of those big like cement lorries that you just see going around?
Yeah.
It looks like that, doesn't it?
Mixer.
Yeah. Just cement mixing your voice.
Oh.
But I think how much we take it for granted. I think it's like so that was 1860. So it's like 160 years later, and think like everyone's just got like Spotify on their phone with like mad freaking like, you know, just like pretty. I mean, obviously, unless the artist like doesn't want their stuff on Spotify, you can just like pretty much listen to any artist on Spotify. Just download the albums, and then even if you don't have Signal, you can just listen to them wherever you want. How good it
sounds as well when you hear some amazing production like played really loud in your car with really good speakers or something, and it's just like, or just at a massive festival and you got the bass hitting you and you can just feel it throughout your body like that. In itself is just a crazy experience, you know.
Do you know what that just made me think as well? It'd be an interesting thing to find out. So obviously we were saying, you know, like until like gramophones were invented, it was like an amazing thing. Like people couldn't believe that they could just freaking buy a gramophone and listen to music at home. Like it was like people would like just stand around the gramophones like smiling at night, like listening to them apparently, because they would just think it was like the best thing ever. Because obviously before that you'd have to go out to listen to, you know, music. But I wonder when the first like amplified like concert was, and like festival. Because there's one thing like going out and listening to some music in a bar.
Yeah,
but
that's
then
it. But
like
a
Glastonbury or like Download, Reading,
and
like Woodstock style, like boom.
Yeah, because even now with like inline array speakers that carry like that are at festivals now, you know, like the big rows of like, and they almost bend a bit, and they're just like loads of small speakers.
Yeah.
Like I heard like Tommy Emmanuel talking about actually, like it used to be different in back when he was doing first things in the 70s and in the 80s, like the old PAs, they would just be these big speakers, and he said they were thumping. They used to thump in a different way to like these inline array speakers that you get in like concert halls now and stuff. So it sounds nicer to the crowd now, and kind of like, but he said as a musician, like you being behind this massive like PA and just your guitar and feeling the thumping of it, it's like you don't get that so much anymore. Like so it sounds nicer to the audience. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, that's crazy. That must have been a different way of performing that. He said he would like play with the PA, like he would like feel the PA, and that would be a part of his sound, you know.
Yeah.
And like kind of it's mad how it like changes.
Do you remember hearing about how distortion was invented?
Yeah, cutting a speaker.
Yeah, but it was an accident at first, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Cutting a speaker.
No, so I think it was.
Speaker
I think
cone.
it was the Kinks. I'm pretty sure it was the Kinks, the band the Kinks, like a big sort of band in a British band, I think, in like the 60s. I want to say.
Yeah. 1960.
They were like moving. They were like transporting their gear, and then I think he accidentally knocked over his amp or like dropped his amp or something, and something went. I don't know if it was like one of the drummers' like stands or something. Went through the amp in through the speaker, but they were like on their way to a gig or something like that. So he was like, I'm just gonna plug it in, obviously hope it works. And he plugged it in, and obviously it worked, but it had this like sound. And he was like, do you know what? This actually sounds really good.
Which is crazy because that's like a broken flappy speaker. So it's showing you can get distortion, but then most of it would then come from valves and valve amplifiers and stuff. You know, so it's weird how it like went from. Because people used to slash their speakers and stuff when they
so after that, so that became a thing. So after that, he would, because obviously he was again essentially the guy that accidentally invented distortion, and then because he thought the sound was really good, I think aren't Kinks the one that's got that song like
You Really Got Me.
Yeah, girl, you really got me now. You got me so I can't sleep at night. But if you think about the guitar, and it is for the time, obviously not by nowadays standards, because we have like frickin' like Slipknot and frickin' Behemoth and bands like that. Do you know what I mean? But for the time, the guitar like do you know what I mean? That was like for the time, it was almost like that was like quite a new sound. So yeah, because it was quite a while still, a few years after that until they would actually invent like, like distortion pedals and things like that.
Jeez.
Yeah, like he would deliberately, and then other musicians started deliberately putting holes in their amps, and their speakers so that they could get that distortion sound. But that's cool, isn't it?
It says that he sliced it with a razor blade.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I remember always hearing from like Johnny Rotten, obviously like famously the lead singer of the Sex Pistols, and that he said that like I think he said that like his favorite band was the Kinks, and he was like saying like they didn't get enough credit, but like they were like really like whether it's like punk music or metal music, they were almost like because everyone goes on about like bands like Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple and stuff like that, but like and even like the Beatles, people go on about how like Helter Skelter sounds a bit almost like a metal song that's not that heavy, but it still sort of structures like a metal song or something. But the Kinks had like a really raw sound, and obviously even just like the fact that they were the key like inventors almost of distortion, like that's like imagine listening to like Metallica without distortion.
Just wouldn't work,
Darkness. You know what I mean? Like that song was so funny on Clean, wasn't it?
If you want to hear it on Clean, listen to Mike Dawes' acoustic version of it. That's pretty cool. He's done Mike Dawes, he's like an amazing.
Is he a relation of George Dawes?
Don't think so.
No.
George Dawes.
Some people probably know what I'm referencing. In the 90s, there was this really good show called Shooting Stars, and it was hosted by Vic Reeves and Bob Mortimer, who were like very famous British comedians, or at least they were in the 90s anyway. They're still pretty big nowadays. I think most people would know who Vic Reeves and Bob Mortimer are. But I'm pretty sure like your mum's a fan, and I know that like Josh is a big fan and stuff like that. But they used to have this show called Shooting Stars, and it had Ulrika Johnson as like one of the team captains. It was a bit like how like nowadays we've got like 8 out of 10 cats or something like that. It was a bit like that, but back in the day. And I remember Ulrika Johnson was one of the captains, and then who was the other one? It might have been Mark Lamar, who also was the original host of Nevermind the Buzzcocks. That was a great show as well, Nevermind the Buzzcocks, but that came out a bit after. But obviously the comedian Matt Lucas. Nowadays he's most known for like Little Britain. He's like the bold guy, in Little Britain. he played this character in the show called George Dawes, and the George Dawes was basically a giant baby that would wear a onesie, and he played the drums. And so at the end of every round, he would like basically do like a freaking,
I do.
he would do
remember
like a drum roll or a drum solo, and he'd be like, and then as he was doing the drums, Vic Reeves and Bob Mortimer would shout, "What are the scores, George Dawes?" And he'd go like, "Rika has 5 and Mark has 12," or something like. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Can he actually play the drums as well?
Yeah.
Oh, that's well good.
Do you know what? I'll get a clip of that up as well, because that's worth watching.
But yeah, Mike Dawes is awesome as well. He does.
Yeah, like I just went off a tangent, and you're trying to tell us about this actually really good guy.
He did a cover of that Somebody That I Used to Know.
Oh yeah,
did it that Gotye song, which I really like that song as far as a pop song goes.
I always thought that sounded loads like an 80s song, but it was randomly released in like 2010
Kimbra, Kimbra, the woman who sings on there, I was a fan of her before I heard
but
that.
You didn't have to.
She's so good. Like she's got an awesome voice in that. But Mike Dawes did a cover of that, and he like every part he's managed to do like on the guitar acoustically, from like the drums, the melodies, like the background, and one of those acoustic guitarists. But yeah, and he did one by Metallica as well.
Well, that's so good, man. That's so cool.
It's really cool.
There's also a really good band called, what are they called? I think they're called like Breaking something, like Breaking Reality or something like that. And they do like a classical cover of Lateralis by Tool.
Oh, nice.
Do you remember that?
I don't think I've heard it.
Well, you have.
I like Rodrigo y Gabriella's version of Orion as well.
I haven't heard that.
That's amazing.
Mate, we'll check that. We'll listen to a couple of. We'll check out all of these things. But this is. So he used to like do like random comedy songs. So this is Shooting Stars from back in the 90s.
George's song. Listen very carefully. The question comes straight after.
But he used to do like random silly comedy songs as well. So this is one of the songs called the Baked Potato song. This is like such British comedy.
You must listen to what potatoes say. Don't be good, don't be bad. Don't be happy, don't be sad.
Can you see what's going on?
No.
There's like a little fake potato next to him singing.
You must listen to what the baked potatoes say.
Oh no, you haven't got it.
Don't be early, don't be late. You baked potato. Always eat what's on your plate. You baked potato.
Yeah, you get the gist. But yeah, George Dawes, that was so good. So I'll show you. I think I can't remember what it was called. It's like an amazing classical cover of Lateralis. Which, for anyone that doesn't know, it's like a Tool song. Classical cover, but it's like the guy's like freaking shredding on his cello, dude.
Mm-hmm. Bit of a cello. Cello.
I'm trying to remember. I think it's like violin. Oh, Break of Reality. Yeah, they're called. It's like some cellos and I think maybe a violin.
Oh, nice.
This is insane. This is insane. If anybody doesn't know the song Lateralis by Tool, check that out because it's just an amazing song. But then this cover is insane as well. Can people see the screen or no?
No.
Ah, it's a shame. So yeah, so we're watching like a live cello cover that you can just find on YouTube if you just type in Break of Reality Tool, or like just type in like Break of Reality Lateralis cover. But this is like proper beautiful. Insane like playing as well and musicianship.
Is that cello at the moment?
Yep. He's picking the cello strings. Nice. And then if you can hear in the background like slowly the other cello is going but they're like really slowly fading it in. They're being like really gentle at the moment. Building up that ambiance, yo.
Get on the ambiance.
Everyone's getting a plethora of musical delights on today's Pandora's Box. One reason I love classical music and like prog music is because they're like masters of the build. I mean, a lot of pop songs and punk songs would be over by now. This one hasn't even started yet.
Oh, there they are.
Hey mate, there's no need to rush, is there? Take your time, build up that ambience. Takes you a couple of minutes just to get into the song. Yeah, they got a drummer as well. So it's a drummer, and I think. There, 3 cellists. 3 cellists and a drummer. That's it. Come and have a look, Drew. See how it's like, because it's cool how into it they're getting. They're like loving it. They're like shredding, just freaking having so much fun. Yeah, man. Drew got excited then. Drew got excited because he saw that woman. Drew's like a little dog that just can't help but hump people's legs. Drew was like, what? Woman? Musician? Good? Attractive?
Where's her leg?
Yeah. Yeah, so cool, man. You see that a lot of times with, especially in like folk music, people with violins. Like violinists in folk music and stuff often pick rather than use the reed of destiny. It's called a reed, isn't it? A bow, sorry, a bow, yeah. A reed is like something in a woodwind instrument, isn't it? Yeah. I get mixed up sometimes, guys. I think it's so cool how it still sounds quite heavy, and he's like so into it, yeah, like loving it. But I think that's really infectious, like it comes through. They're all taking it in turns to shred. Oh, it's the chick, Drew.
Crazy how many different sounds you can get from them using just the same instruments.
3 cellos and drums, yeah. Good drummer, so isn't he? Cool drummer.
I feel like I'm like setting up some ancient like quest that I'm about to go on.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm pretty sure it gets even more fat in a minute. I think this is like lulling you into a false sense of security, like thinking it's all dying down and it just goes mental again.
The eye of the storm.
Yeah. I bet this would be like insane to actually like watch live, like be there in the front row, like be like amazing. Be like when we went to go see Medieval Babes, Drew, and everyone was like sitting down with their glasses of wine and we were like stood up headbanging. And it's down the bar. I just don't understand people can't get into music. Like, you know, like I can't help it.
Just complements each other like so well.
Oh man, yeah. Oh, ready? Solo. Drop. You can help it, mate. What's up? Yeah, baby. How freaking cool is that?
That was awesome.
Mate, that was insane.
So cool.
I love this carbon fibre cello as well.
Yes, cool, isn't it? Yeah, I thought that. Mental carbon fibre cello. Yeah, I wonder, like,
so good.
do you know what? I remember like finding that like years ago now, but I've never
seen
actually
that
checked
before.
out more of Break of Reality.
I saw another cello thing, and it was like an AC/DC track.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was like an AC/DC track, and it was both of them done it. But they might have even put some like distortion on the cellos as well.
Oh, that's cool,
Cool
man.
as well, but yeah.
It's
Not
such a
bad.
crucial instrument in classical music, isn't it? I know when I went to see the Hans Zimmer John Williams thing at Wells Cathedral, it was like the cello was such like a backbone of almost
Yeah.
every single song.
The whole like string section,
Yeah.
you know, got like the cellos and the violas and the violins and everything.
I'm a big fan of stringed instruments in general. I think they just
Yeah.
sound amazing.
I got a really
Violins,
cool
cellos.
like VST the other day for a music program on Cubase, and it's the BBC Symphonic Orchestra, but the way they've got it set out is that you can just see like the orchestra and like the whole sections and pick which one you want to do, and then you can like on your keyboard like play, and they've actually recorded every instrument, so it's all real sound still, but you're just
Wow.
kind of like the real instrument samples, and they've got loads of different playing styles and that, and it was so cool to like really realistically like just play some chords in, but
So
with a
cool,
whole
man.
string section and that, and it just sounds insane, you know.
So freaking cool, dog.
Yeah.
So freaking cool.
Crazy.
Yeah, man. I think like stringed instruments. I mean, all instruments I love at the end of the day, but I think I've got a bit of a soft spot for string and like woodwind. Like, I fucking love woodwind.
Yeah.
I'm always saying to you, aren't I? Well, and you say as well. Like, I wish we knew like some more
Yeah.
like really good woodwind players.
Yeah.
And I almost like wouldn't really care what it was. I don't care if it's penny whistle, like old school folky style, or like flute, or like oboe, like whatever. Like just if you knew some really good. If anyone's listening. And you're a really good woodwind player and you want to like do some music with me and Drew, get in touch because that would be freaking amazing.
It's got to happen.
Yeah, and just like, add
Hopefully
some layers.
we'll meet some at this folk festival we're going to.
Oh yeah, me and Drew are working a folk festival in Kent. Folkestone Folk Festival, which is a very fitting name, isn't it? So yeah, hopefully we'll meet some freaking sick woodwind instrumentalists there. But if you do play woodwind and you're listening and you want to have a jam with me and Drew, let us know. Or, obviously, we played that song at the beginning of the episode, and I said what the chords were. Do some freaking...
Play along.
Woodwind over it, and then, I don't know, like, send us your playing over it or something. That'd be pretty fun, wouldn't it? That'd be pretty cool. The Owl in the Dark by Witch Hazel.
Hoot.
Feeling folky today. Yeah, it's cool. We're having randomly like a bit of a musical episode of PB. We've listened to some classical guitaring. We've listened to some crazy cello covers of Tool. You were saying about all those cool, like those one. Who's that again? Who's he saying?
Mike Dawes.
Mike Dawes.
Yeah, Mike
George Dawes' cousin. Mike Dawes.
He should Mike Dawes should get George Dawes on the drums.
Do the drums, yeah. That'd be epic. Mate, I'd love that. Unfortunately, it'll probably never happen, but... Dawes 1. Let's type in that.
Did he do it?
Oh, yeah, that's what I found it. I tell you who also, there's a guy that I follow, and he does amazing folk covers of metal songs, and those are insane. I'll show you him in a minute. I'll quickly find what his YouTube is in a minute. So it's a bit like this, but it's just more like folky. It is amazing when you get like amazing virtuoso guitarists doing this as well, because obviously they do like the lead and the rhythm at the same time and that, and you're just like, what the hell? And then sometimes the vocals as well. Yeah, it's insane, dude. Mate, mad talent. My fragile little mind doesn't even understand how somebody could be that good on the guitar. There's freaking level to this, brah. There's levels to this. Oh, nice little hum on it then. Oh, bloody hell. Bloody hell, mate. Yeah, so saying like they do the vocals and everything. It's like they're doing rhythm guitar, lead guitar, and vocals all at the same time. Like, that's nuts. Oh, he even did the harmony. He even did the vocal harmony. Jesus. Crazy, man.
I went to an Opeth gig once in Bristol, and I saw...
Went to an Opeth gig in Bristol.
an Opeth gig in Bristol, and I saw Mike Dawes in the crowd, and I just went up to him and I just shook his hand and was just like, "You're an amazing guitarist." And then he just looked at me like... So I was like, "What are you doing?"
Well, to be honest, mate, I mean, he is. And that's like a natural reaction.
I just tapped him and was like, "You're an amazing guitarist."
Mate, if someone said that to me about anything, I'd be like, "Sam, cheers."
Yeah, he's just like a really sound English guy.
Nice. Oh. That's so good. Harmony again.
This is quite comical, this bit.
Yeah, yeah. It is a bit, isn't it? Yeah. He's actually just gone metal for this bit. That's amazing. I'll show you this one quickly. It's this guy called Argle the Bard, and it's like similar, but he does it more like folky. And this guy like blows my mind. I love it. He's done like Ghost ones, Metallica ones, System of a Down ones. Even like Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush.
Oh yeah.
Should we listen to a bit of that one? That'd be probably quite epic.
Yeah.
Everybody loves it nowadays because of Stranger Things. Argle the Bard. Great name as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm hoping we'll be allowed to put this up on YouTube. Otherwise, it'll be a pretty boring episode for people.
Surely
I imagine the whole thing's copyright.
They're not like massive bands, and surely like the actual pages like although most of them are a lot bigger than ours, like it's a bit of exposure in it. Hopefully they won't get their knickers in a twist. Come on, guys. Let's all just help each other here, So this is Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush, but like folk cover. Look at that, like old loop. It's good, isn't it, man? I appreciate how good he is at all the different instruments as well. Sounds lush, doesn't it? Just goes to show as well that you can cover pretty much any song with like old traditional instruments. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like, even if they're like more electronic-y and... Do you know what the name of that wooden instrument is? It almost sounds a bit jazzy or something.
It's like
A zaffoon.
Yeah, I used to have one. It's got a saxophone reed on it.
I was going to say, it sounds like a sax.
Yeah, it makes it sound like a sax.
But it looks like, for people that can't see it, it almost looks like a...
Bamboo stick.
Yeah, like a bamboo stick, like a baton it basically looks like, but with a big reed on it. I'll show you the Mary on a Cross, which is a Ghost cover. all so good though. As I said, check out Argle the Bard's page because all of his covers are just amazing.
Oh, he's got a bouzouki.
Yeah, man. Me and Drew are a big fan of bouzouki's. Metal songs really work for folk covers as well, don't they?
I like the look of that loop because it's like 6 strings like a guitar. Yeah, it looks like it's tuned like a guitar as well.
Sounds amazing, man. Imagine just going back in time and playing this to like some king in like 1200. Just playing it to like Richard the Lionheart and his court. I'll show you as well. He's done like a version of the Mandalorian's theme tune, which is really cool. Check out this.
Oh.
He's like got so many instruments, isn't he? Do you know what that's called? It's some mental string instrument. I'm like laughing because of how good it is, not because of anything else.
I love that bit.
Yeah. It sounds exactly like it as well, doesn't it?
I read somewhere that they might be making a movie instead of the next series of Mandalorian.
Oh, crazy. I have not heard that, so that's interesting. So cool, isn't it? I'll just play a little bit of this one as well, just for any of you System of a Down fans. This is like Aerials by said he's done one of like one and everything. He's done like loads of Metallica ones and like Black Sabbath ones, but for any of you new metal fans out there, let's face it, I think most people around our age know System of a Down just because it was big when we were in school. Drew saying if you didn't hear
I used to have one, I haven't got one anymore. I don't know what I did with it, yeah. I used to walk around college playing it. Oh, yeah.
So I can't remember that, but
it's crazy how much it sounds like a sax though, isn't it?
yeah. Rings a bell though that you used to have as a food, you know what I mean? I'm going to look at it and see if this guy's got a Spotify page, because if so, I'm going to definitely follow it and put a load of it in like my folk playlists and that.
Reckon you could subscribe to me?
Yeah. Definitely worth a follow, isn't it? Yeah. And that's what I like about it.
Yeah.
So good, isn't it? I was thinking as well, like just while we were listening to that, obviously earlier on in the show we played like the first ever recording of like someone singing, even if it did sound like a cat. Sounded a bit like a crazy
cat ghost.
Yeah, cat ghost. But isn't it amazing how we've come from like, imagine that first person that was like, yeah, we're gonna, what do they call it? It was almost like a phono autograph or something like that.
Yeah,
something like that.
And then imagine how crazy that would have seemed through at the time, like a breakthrough. And then we listened to some recordings that were between, what was it, 1914 and then 1929, something like that. And obviously by that point, you know, you could record, but it still sounds rough. Like it sounds like you probably better quality recording it on just like a tape recorder, like not plugged in like 1980. Do you know what I mean? Just like in your house somewhere or something like that. But isn't it crazy that we've got to now where literally like people are using AI to make songs of like brand new songs from artists that are dead.
Yeah.
Have you like seen that? Have you like listened to any of that?
It's crazy. They've been really scared of the copyright with it, haven't they? I know.
Oh, have they?
I know there was one of Drake obviously
Really?
not dead, but they made AI of a Drake song, and I think it would have like charted, like
Really?
it got that big.
Really?
And it was just an AI that someone had completely made themselves. I think they had to record their own voice into it and write like the lyrics to it, and then just use like almost the same way you would use what's the face one? When you copy someone's face.
Like facial recognition?
No. There's an actual word for it. For some reason I can't think of the word for it. But basically, they would just use their voice and add Drake's voice onto theirs, and that's like the way to make it more smooth. So you can still like if you could do an impression of someone and then add their own voice onto it, it would be more accurate than if you just wrote it like in the words and made them do it, because you could still hit their way of speaking a little bit better. Nuances.
I listened to a couple of Nirvana ones, and I'm not gonna lie, like, they're not perfect, or at least the ones I listen to. I've literally just clicked in Nirvana AI song, the first one that's come up, and it says AI creates new Nirvana song called Drown in the Sun. So we'll listen to that in a sec. But one thing I will say, even though I don't think it's like flawless, like I think if you listen to it on an album, you'd be like, this is a bit weird.
Yeah.
But it still does amaze me how it's like brand new lyrics, but it sounds just like Kurt Cobain. Like, that's the thing that amazes me the most. Like, the song doesn't sound flawless, it sounds a bit cronky. I haven't listened to this one, so this one might sound amazing. We'll find out in a minute. But it does amaze me how it's like, how have they taken like the voice of a guy that's been dead since 1995 and made him say all this new stuff?
Yeah.
Like, do you know how they do it? Do they take clips?
Deep fake.
Do they use like clips?
It's better. The reason it's better with people that can actually make music, or like for example, I'm pretty sure the best person on the planet with a deep fake is Joe Rogan. Because there is so much content of him speaking that they can get like
thousands of hours.
Yeah, they have access to literally every single vowel that his mouth can make.
And every like tone.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think it's like that. So
hello.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how it works. They basically just take all the different content that's already out there for a person and mash it all together.
I thought that was probably how they do it. But yeah, let's check out this anyway. I said I've heard a couple, but it does blow my mind, as I said, just to think in 160 years from that weird drowned cat ghost recording to literally artificial intelligence creating songs from people that are dead. This is AI creates new Nirvana song called Drown in the Sun. So let's see what this is like. Oh, wait a minute. Play it from the beginning. It was randomly from like halfway through the song.
Oh, maybe I've listened to it before. I think I might have.
Yeah. It does sound quite Nirvana-y as well in terms of the guitar and everything as well. But that sounds just like Kurt Cobain. That's the thing that I find creepy about it. I mean, it doesn't sound bad, does it? It's certainly not their best ever song, but it doesn't sound bad. To be honest, the thing that I find most unrealistic about it, as somebody that's listened to a lot of Nirvana, is more how the drums and the guitar tone sounds. But whoever did this probably obviously didn't take that into account so much. Like, the guitar tone doesn't sound quite right, and it doesn't sound Dave Grohl-y enough.
Yeah.
The drums don't sound Dave Grohl-y enough.
Did the AI do those bits as well, or is it just... Do you know what I mean?
I have no idea.
Could have done. Do you know what I'd be curious to find out? If we programmed it to, like, because there's a lot of content of us speaking out there. If we could program an AI, just be like, all right,
Lots of companies are
shows.
making their own AIs now and stuff.
Yeah, imagine if we could get our own AI and
they say
how
about,
accurate
like,
it would sound to our own voice.
So it's what data set do you put in? Yeah, this guy called from Impact Theory that's done it, because he's done a ton of podcasts, and he says it's to the point where anyone can ask a question and it will answer based on his previous content. And they tend to get like the tone of what people would think and say as well, don't they? So if you made an AI of yourself, it would say things that you would say. Yeah.
That's what like amazes me. I think that's so crazy.
So he's using it in his company, so if employees have questions about certain things, he uses it as a training thing for employees to like speak to the CEO without having to speak to the CEO and wasting the CEO's time, you know?
That's crazy.
And he says that it's pretty much can get it spot on, like, for the most part, you know? And like, mad.
Crazy, man.
Especially if someone's not got much time for stuff.
Yeah, I would love to know, like, how long it's going to take. I saw something about Marvel the other day that was crazy. It was in one of the shows. they used they got extras, obviously, as you normally would. But so there was something in their contract or something like that now every single Marvel show, they have the rights to those people's faces, and they can CGI them as extras into other shows. So they've got no use for any new extras now.
Is that one of the reasons why they're doing the actor strike in Hollywood? Do you know that?
I don't know if that's related. I know that is like a huge.
Surely that's like you know, because I know a lot of actors are like not turning up to like premieres and press releases and stuff.
And the music thing as well, like rights to people's songs and art. It's been happening with Mid-Journey and the fact that it's just copying artist styles. And stuff.
It does freak me out and concern me a little bit, because I also think it's like I think like creating music is quite like a sacred process, and when you're just like taking the human and the art out of it and just processing it like almost like a freaking biscuit tray in a factory,
ones and zeros.
Do you know what I mean? It seems almost like a bit like there's no like emotion or creation in that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like take like the Mona Lisa, right? Like if like a computer could just like and make something as good as that, would you find that as valuable?
Impressive.
Because it's something about the trials and tribulations of mankind and us like going through like different emotions and then creating and failing and creating again. It's like that's almost like part of what makes it amazing.
But I think that's still carried in art. Like some guy was talking about at a festival I was at, and there was a talk about AI art, and he was an artist there, and he was selling these pictures at the festival and everything. And like the only thing I thought is maybe it's like a bit of like a it could just be bollocks, people think is like, but I do feel that those things are carried across in something that a human does, like if you draw something, or if you so I don't think that can be recreated. It might look beautiful, it might look really beautiful,
that's exactly what I'm saying,
but I don't think so I don't worry about it. I don't worry about whatever the AI is creating, because I still think if a human puts their puts their heart, their soul, their time into something, then that is still going to carry as its own resonance. It's going to have its own imprint that's carried with that piece of art.
Aren't you worried though that maybe like more shallow people, or people that don't care as much, that just want something on their wall?
Yeah, will basically I don't really care about those people though.
I know, but what I do care about is say you're an artist for a living, if you could go out of business because 75% of the market are buying AI created stuff because technically it looks as good, and because people can't tell the difference when it's on the wall anyway.
I think artists, and it's about how they, artists earn their money and stuff.
Yeah,
and
that's the concern, isn't it?
But that's what I mean. Like, I think as humans as well, we'll also adapt to what AI is bringing in that respect, and we'll kind of do different things to be able to like make a living. Like this guy was talking about, he's now created his own AI art thing based on all of his imagery that he's put into this project of teaching people how to do art. So do you know what I mean? He's created these different things to help him get out of the predicament of how am I going to earn my money still. And I think adaptable as we are as humans, like we're going to just find more ways. I think it should help us rather than hinder us.
Definitely. Right. That's I guess that's just like the concern, isn't it? And as we were saying about like the music and stuff, it's like, does it start getting into like copyright issues and things like that? It's a bit mental. Like
it's interesting. It kind of goes into the world of like, what do we actually love about the entertainment we enjoy? Like, for example, is it the actual content itself that you love from a Metallica song, or is it the journey that music's taken to actually be curated and stuff?
I think it's
like
about the way it makes you feel and things like that. I think that's the most important thing.
And it's like, will the AI one make you feel the same? I don't know.
But I also think you're a product of your generation, and I think that maybe people that are say like in primary school at the moment, or even secondary school, maybe they wouldn't even understand what we were saying when we were explaining why we are concerned and why we think that's something like
this is the way.
A human art or a human piece of music would be like more like beautiful and interesting and hold more value than something that AI created. I reckon there's a chance that they might not even understand what we meant by that. A bit like the same way, and I say not necessarily everyone, but I know people that like can't enjoy old movies as much as newer movies.
I even found that growing up.
Yeah, if the special effects aren't as good, then they see it as just like it's worse. Whereas I see it as it's charming,
you can still appreciate it.
Yeah, and I see it as like I appreciate it for like what it is, and I think as well. I also think that as time's going on, I think there is a less of a emphasis on quality writing and quality acting, because you can fill in all the blanks with like flashy stuff. So I think, you know, if you watch like a movie from like 40 years ago, I think on the whole, at the level of the acting and the level of the writing, I think the writing is probably the thing that's taken the biggest hit. Is superior, and I think that's because it's like it had to be. So it's like the level of writing. I mean, you think of like, you know, like the whether it's like all the Alfred Hitchcock's movies, or like, you know, Quentin Tarantino always rants about it and stuff. You know, it's like the, you know, you're telling a story. It's not, whereas nowadays a lot of like old school directors and writers, they criticize some of new movies as they say it's more like a fairground ride. It's basically, it's like, how many flashy lights and explosions can we do that make you go like, oh, you know, it's like, it's taking you more on a roller coaster ride, which is like, yeah, that is still a level of entertainment, but it's not what it used to be. It's not like, okay, we're telling you a story and we're going to take you on a different roller coaster ride, but it's through emotion, it's through the quality of the writing that's making you take all these twists and turns.
So do you think that because of it's turning like that, like it could change that for everyone? Because I still think there's like the people that do appreciate that, and human like just as a part of us, like in our human being, like we're always gonna have that, you know. Like I trust in that.
I think that some people always will.
Yeah, but a lot of people will just be like
the same way that we were listening to that amazing guitarist earlier on. I can't remember his name now off the top of my head. Something Augustus Baroni or whatever his name was. But you know, it's like, I mean, how many people know about him nowadays? I mean, you got one of the most famous composers of our parents' generation, John Williams, saying that he thinks he's the best musician of all time. But let's face it, the majority, if you ask most people on the street, especially most younger people, like people younger than us, but like still adults, like between sort of 18 and our age, what do you think of this guy's playing? They probably wouldn't care.
Yeah.
And I think that's obviously, it's sad. You would get the odd cool little dude, or like, you know, like or lass that would. But most people would just rather listen to what's in the charts.
I think there'll always be a market for that music that does have emotion, it does have feel behind it. But I think an interesting question is when you look at the stuff like the charts and music that is almost being curated by record labels that will say, these are the points you need to hit. You know, we don't really care about how you actually feel about this music. We want it to be successful. And that's what a lot of artists will be doing, is making music purely for the record label, purely for the numbers. Do you think there's a place for them to get overtaken by the likes of AI? Because, maybe. I mean, in that sense, there's not any feel. There's not any feel behind that music anyway. Yeah. So what's to stop AI from overtaking that? Because they can, you know. Yeah,
I suppose if people haven't felt that thing before of like really deeply getting into something and seeing the more nuanced, like kind of just in process of life and appreciating that. I think it's going to separate. For me, there's always going to be people like that.
Big separation,
and there's always going to be people that
I think there already is.
Yeah, there already is. So I think it's just going to make it more. And the people that are really interested in like deep art will get deeper into it, and then the people that just
want to
dance, the flashy
dance in a nightclub,
like, do you know
just
what I mean?
go to the cinema and be like, whoa,
crazy. And I think they're already lost, man. Explosion. I think anything you put in front of people like that, it's like, you know,
yeah.
But like, thank God we still feel, you know. What I mean?
I guess it just seems,
even if it's the minority.
I guess it just seems almost a bit of a shame to me. Like, you know, I think it's weird how there was such a radical change quickly, but I think I was chatting to my folks about it the other day actually, about like how good, say, and the only reason I say I'm going to start saying the 60s is purely because also that's the generation my parents were born, and that's because that's where the most, I guess, like quote unquote pop or popular like music that I've listened to. Obviously, I'm a fan of like lots of folk music, so some of that's like hundreds and hundreds of years old. You know, I'm a fan of like, I'm quite a big fan of classical music, and obviously some of that's hundreds of years old. But obviously most of the stuff that's you hear in the car growing up is stuff that my folks have played, or so it's either from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right up to current day. And to me, it seems like there was a massive drop off in quality, like very quickly around 2010. It was like 60s fantastic music, and I'm talking like top 10 in the charts, like all the time, and right up until maybe 2005 to 2010. Around then, it started a sharp decline, like Like if you think about how good
popular music,
in pop
I think
music.
Also like it just went underground. Like it just went like, you know.
But as a result of being underground, those musicians aren't making a living anymore.
No,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like say someone like you, Drew, who's a very good musician. Like your prospects of making a massive financial income from music alone are very, very small. Because unfortunately,
it's been a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, and because unfortunately, the market would rather listen to something like Nicki Minaj, or something like that. You know,
I don't think there's any there's no fight in it. It's a shame, but it's just the way it is. Like,
but
you know,
in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s and 2000s. There would have been a fighter's chance. I said all of those decades, whether it was like earlier on we were talking about the Kinks and the Beatles, in the 70s, like bands like Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, and in the 80s, whether it's bands, like Metallica and stuff, and Black Sabbath, bands like that, they managed to make it in the charts.
Yeah.
They managed to get freaking songs in the charts. Like, can you imagine that? Like all across the world.
Yeah.
There
was a lot of firsts then, wasn't there? Like we were saying about the first, the last couple hundred years of our evolution as a human race. It's like so many firsts have been happening. It's almost just like the repercussions of that. It's like there can only be one time that someone creates distortion for the first time, and then it completely changes the way that music's made.
But it's weird. What I mean? It's weird. Like, what do you reckon? It was things like the X Factor and like Britain's Got Talent. What do you think it was that switched that? Because it went from being almost like there'd be a good band. So even take
Cheap Thrills, baby.
Take the 90s.
McDonald's Thrills.
Yeah. But take the 90s. You had good artists like Tori Amos, The Verve, Blur, like Britpop bands as they're known. Obviously, Tori Amos isn't a Britpop band, but you know what I'm saying? Like Stone Roses. These are bands that would start, they'd gig the circuit, exactly like you do, exactly like you've done and stuff. You gig your circuit, you gig a wider circuit, you get slightly more recognition, and then before you know it, like things like I Say I Want to Be Adored by Stone Roses, that was like number one for a while.
Yeah.
There is no chance that a band that is like Stone Roses, like a Manchester band, I don't think, I really hope I'm wrong, little to no chance that they would make it number one in the UK charts in modern day climate.
Oh, 100%.
Do you think part of it would come down to the use of and the sort of spawn of social media and the ease now of media campaigns? Because it's a lot easier now to just chuck stuff in front of people's faces and, have that be all they see. Whereas maybe back in the day there would have been more word of mouth, more this is really good, you should listen to this.
Yeah,
but then I suppose
most of the people would be playing their instruments.
Yeah,
the rise of electronic music and production and all that stuff.
It's killed a lot of the love
different
of it.
genres and and then it was like this pop thing, and all of that. It just completely changed, and then I think people wanted that more. They didn't care that the person on stage that had backing tracks and they weren't playing with live bands. They just wanted to see that person because they idolized that Britney Spears. Britney Spears. That's probably one of the first ones, and it's just like they don't care about the music.
Mass produced. They're like these little forced child stars, aren't they?
Yeah.
And as you said, like people don't care about the fact that it's not like a band that's like put in the time. It's it's more like a product. It's packaging up like a product, like a
it's
product.
the record label just forcing it out there, and it is it makes sense that they would want whatever can be produced easily to the masses.
A lot of money,
Yeah, exactly.
But I think of this thing where
so ugly.
You said about like not being able to make a living and stuff. Like this is also maybe a thing that's like it could be bollocks. But if technology was used in a way, or there was this infrastructure that was built, say with like a global AI that basically ran things that we did, so we didn't have to, as in like the infrastructure of things. And
that's that. I've seen a lot of irony of people like that, and they, people saying sorry just before you continue, and I did sort of laugh when I saw it because it is very true. Somebody did like a jokey sort of meme, but also a very true meme saying like, we grew up, say you grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. You'd watch like a sci-fi program about what life would be like in the future, and it would basically be like robots would be taking care of our infrastructure so we could all relax and spend more time doing art and music and that. But the irony is it seems to be the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Where it seems like in terms of infrastructure, humans are working harder than ever, and AI and stuff like that are just doing the art for us. So it's like the opposite of what it should be. We should be spending the time pouring our hearts and souls into art and music, while the AI and the freaking quote unquote robots and that in the factories, making the cars, doing all that, running all this stuff, so that we can be humans and do what really is our more natural calling, which is spend time with other humans and create.
I don't think it's just the
create,
infrastructure, like factories and things like that. It's also like political, monetary, like all of that stuff. Like completely different to how it is now. You know, decentralized finance.
Like Hamilton was saying.
Yeah, exactly. So I think then, if something like that did happen in the future, 50 years, 100 years into the future, then maybe people would like want to explore it more, or like, do you know what I mean? Because like you say, at the moment, in the current way things are, that's not happening. Yeah. It's just people are just like going the opposite of like how you'd want with that, you know?
I think now is almost a time for musicians and artists to take a stand on that kind of stuff. Like I know you were speaking about the actors strike at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the actors strike is as a result of the writers going on strike, because they weren't being paid enough. Like,
I think
by
it was
the
something like
studios.
that. Yeah, I think it was.
And the
something like
actors were like, oh, well, we don't want to, you know, if you don't have the writers to make good movies, we don't want to star in movies that aren't written well, so we're just not going to turn up and do that stuff. And I think that's how it's working.
So now ChatGPT is just writing everything.
Exactly. Who's to say that AI isn't going to get to the point that it can write a story as well as writers today? And then in that case, is there any need for writers, you know?
But that's exactly the same thing as we were saying about artists, whether it's painters or musicians. Like, just, you know, it's taken out almost like the beauty and the struggle. Like, one of the things I think that we appreciate in other human beings is like the struggle and emotion of it. Like,
story.
You know, one of the, even though I'm not, you know, I wouldn't ever like try and lie and make out I'm my biggest fan, but someone that I really like, say, like look up to or admire, because I almost think they're like an amazing purist in terms of like musicianship, is someone like Kate Bush. You know, like, you listen to her music and you're like, not only is that like one of a kind, but you can tell there's like real emotion and
I
intellect
don't think that
in that.
Can ever be recreated.
No, I don't. I don't. And
So,
I definitely
as
don't.
long as people still are doing that, then it's all going to be good. I almost think it will make real people's art worth more, because it's going to be even more of a scarcity.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
you know, like there might be something that could look as cool like with AI, but anyone can do it, which means it's not scarce. It's not. It's
artificial,
unique.
which is literally in the name.
Yeah, and so that, you know, it's not worth as much, but like it might even make actual people's art like worth more and stuff. Like, I saw this crazy one at Envision Festival, and it was this guy was creating art, like visionary art, that you had to wear 3D glasses for, and he was doing it with like UV paint and like 3D paint techniques. Cool. So you would put the glasses on, and the depth to the picture, it would be like, it was just crazy. And that probably something like that could be done like with AI and that.
Yeah.
But I remember just looking at this and being like, this guy, like, he's been on some journeys, you know what I mean? To like, you know, to create that. And it was just so, I'd pick something like that any day over.
Me too, man. And just to finish off, because we're almost at the end of the show, this just encapsulates what I mean. I just sort of like looked this up because I remember coming across it before, and it almost like made me laugh. And we're talking obviously not just about the difference between like say like AI and sort of people writing stuff, but also between the sort of like mass produced stuff that's unfortunately in the charts nowadays compared to almost like real music. Because let's face it, we all experience like a vast range of emotions in our lives. We all experience like, you know, like euphoric highs and like heartbreaking lows. Like there's all times when we're sort of depressed, everything in the middle. And I think obviously music and art, every type of art is like a release for that, isn't it? So I think, you know, it's just really hilarious. I'm not even a particularly like big Evanescence fan or anything like this, but it's just really hilarious. It's comparing Amy Lee, who's the lead singer of Evanescence's Evanescence, lyrics from her song, and then a clip of Nicki Minaj, and this just pretty much sums it up. And I think this is a really good place to end it on. I also think not only in terms of like, you know, music being a release for people from the music, from the emotions that they feel, but also like what message are you also sending people? Because I think that the Nicki Minaj lyrics, they're narcissistic, and they're also just outright stupid. So if young people are listening to that, they're more likely to be narcissistic and stupid themselves. Because unfortunately, you know, you are sort of a product of your generation, and things leak into your brain. That's just the nature of things. So the Amy Lee lyrics are, "These wounds won't seem to heal. This pain is just too real. There's just too much that time cannot erase. When you cried, I'd wipe away all of your tears. When you'd scream, I'd fight away all of your fears. And I held your hand through all of these years, but you still have all of me." Right? Very nice lyrics, very heartfelt, and I think good message. Obviously, it's almost like encouraging unity and showing that, you know, we all have these feelings, and it's also like it's showing, you know, whoever she's writing about, she's basically saying she'll always be there for them and stuff. And then the Nicki Minaj ones are, "You a stupid hoe, You a stupid hoe. Yeah, you a stupid hoe. If you cute, then your crew can roll. If you sexy, eat my cucka roll. Put your cape on. You a stupid hoe. What a freaking idiot. Oh, mate, I don't even know what to say. We need to listen to some good music to erase my brain of that awfulness. But yeah, cheers, everyone. Gave you a couple of things to ponder today. Hope you've enjoyed all the crazy sort of like music we've played today. First ever recorded music. Me and Drew played you a little song at the beginning of the show. We've played some bardcore. Drew showed that crazy virtuoso guy, Mike Dawes, playing one. Played all sorts of stuff. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Yeah, ta-ta.